Hi, my name is Zuko and welcome to my channel. Alright, so you'll see I have a bit of a change of scenery, but this is gonna be temporary. I am busy moving, as I mentioned in my previous video when I put in that little disclaimer. But anyways, this is gonna be my setup for the time being, and then I'll hopefully move on to a more permanent setup. For now, we're gonna continue on where I left off in our last video, where Alduin and his buddies went to Partha. So they actually wanted to go to Kejan, but Partha kind of popped up out of nowhere, and they decided, you know what, let's go restock on our stuff. Lilia was not too happy, but she understood, okay, well, let's just go refill, get some sleep, and go back to Kejan. We know that in Narias, the Grand D Angel Narias is actually also the prophet that the Cathedral of Light is now basically listening to, and he's controlling them and whatnot. And we know that Malik is still lurking around and about after his punishment and I guess reward after he get like a monster claw from Lucian, and he is also on the lookout for Alduin. Okay, so the last time Alduin and his buds came in and they were introduced to Master Ethan, who recognized Cerinthia and decided that, you know what, you are the daughter of one of my good friends, you guys can stay with me. Then also a quick disclaimer on the game itself. It was during the last season that I was playing, that was the vampires, but now we're in a more like machinery type of season called the season of Construct. So that's gonna be interesting. This is also gonna be one of my first playthroughs through the whole season, so it's gonna be new for both of us. But the options were I could either play with my character that you guys known and loved growing up, but then I would not be able to play the season, or I make a new seasonal character and start from scratch, which I felt, you know what, let's just start from scratch, because then it's gonna be fun for all of us, and we are then in the new season and we can experience as it gets updated and patched. But anyway, without further ado, let us start our game and let us start on with our story. Alright, so Alduin and his gang were on their way to Master Ethan's estate when Alduin stopped and healed the young boy's arm that was deformed. Everyone saw it, everyone thought, wow, what's going on? And obviously they started calling him the Holy One. Now, when they got to Master Ethan's estate, Alduin also had a little chat with everyone and told them, listen, I want to stay here maybe another day or two. Now, Lilia was not so happy about that. She felt like, oh, but we need to go to Kejan. And Alduin basically responded by saying, we will go to Kejan, just not now. And basically, that's how that happened. So now, after a night's rest, the next day, Alduin decided, you know what, I need to go talk to these people. I need to see if I can get them on the same basis as I am. They need to understand that I'm not some god, I'm not some holy person, but that I am here to help them unlock what's inside of them as well. The rest of his group wants to follow him, but he kind of wants to do it on his own, so he does kind of like slip out, tries to get away, to which Master Ethan's son, Cedric, tries to stop him like, hey, Alduin, where are you going? Where are you heading? And Alduin was not really in the mood to chat, so he kind of just shut the door in his face, like, no, I don't have time for children. Not in so many words, but I mean, basically the gist of it. So then he left, and in a sense he put like a type of spell on the door so that no one can like exit after him, at least not for a long while. Ooh, jeez. Okay. Alright, message received. Jy maak eina. But anyways, so Alduin leaves and he's heading towards Partha. So after a long walk, he comes to kind of like where the center of Partha is and sees that there is this big fountain in the center of Partha, which is kind of like perfect for him, where he can kind of talk to everyone. Because as he's walking, he sees there's a lot of people kind of staring at him, following him, like they were waiting for him. Which he understood that they probably, like after the miracle he performed, that they were going to be interested in talking to him, or at least seeing more of these miracles. He went to the middle of the town to where he saw a statue standing. Okay, so this statue, Master Ethan had told him about it, was the statue of Prometheus. Prometheus? Something like that. Now, he was the founder of Partha and well respected and loved and adored. And Alduin felt like, well, it's in the center, it will be right where the statue is that he addresses the people. There's no way that that could go bad, right? So he goes there and unintentionally actually starts standing in the same posture that the statue is standing. So let's say the statue was standing like this. Now all the Alduin goes standing there in front of the fountain, and he's also like and everyone is like looking at him. It's almost as if though the moment his words escaped his mouth, everyone was just focused on him, and it seemed like the town was so quiet in comparison to what the market life was like just before he started speaking. I do not make miracles, and everything I can do, I can teach you how to do as well. Now, understanding that the whole town was kind of looking at him like, well, you fixed the boy's like deformed arm. If that's not a miracle, I don't know what is, you know. But everyone started growing in closer, because now obviously they're curious. What do you mean? What do you mean that we can be like you? It's like, no, I can awaken the same powers in you that I possess, and I will help you to awaken it inside of you. And everyone's like, you know, it's hard enough to believe that you've got powers. Now you want to say that we have powers? Not in a chance, you know. And that's basically when Alduin decided, you know what, I need to like prove it to them. I need to show it to them. He scans around on a like city and sees that the child whose arm he saved, him and his mother were still standing there, and he recalled the mother's name to be Partha. So he calls out to her, Partha, do you mind aiding me for a moment? Partha, very willing, steps forward, and she's like, yes, of course, Holy One, what can I do for you? And he's like, no, please stop calling me that. And she kind of ignores his wish. He's just, yeah, Holy One, just get to the point. Let's not go on about the formality of it. And he says, okay, I want to do what you guys call a miracle, but I want you to help me with it so I can awaken the power inside of you. And she's like, okay, what do you need me to do? So again, he looks across to see if he can see anyone that might need some help, and he sees a guy with a very disformed face. So he's got like he's got a messed up face. And he decides, you know what, you're gonna be the lucky guy today that we are gonna help. And he calls him up, you over there, sir, would you like to come up and just help me with my demonstration? The guy looks at him, yes, of course, Your Holiness, what do you need me to do? He steps on closer, and Alduin asks him if it was okay that they touch his face. Not inappropriately, just touch it. And the guy's like, of course, what do you need to do? He gestures over for Partha to touch the guy's face, to which he says, my son, what is your name? Jonas, Your Holiness. Okay, Jonas. Partha, put your hands on Jonas's face. And I really focus on, in all of your might, the warmth inside of you to try and heal his face. Alduin places his hands on top of Partha's hands, which is basically like on top of Jonas's hands, and then proceeds to think to himself how he can heal this person. So, to Alduin, he remembers that when he healed the young boy, the thing that he was thinking about was his sister, and how he had wished that he could have helped her the same way he's helping the boy. Now he thought the similar method would be suffice for the guy's face, and he started thinking about everyone else in Serum who also had some sort of deformity that he could have helped had he awakened this power before. Now, as he was thinking that, he was thinking about the warmth, the comfort. He was thinking of how the guy's face is supposed to look. And as he was thinking of it, the guy's face miraculously started healing up. So the deformity started going in place, and it was almost as if though like a pink, glowy, new skin started forming. The guy now looks completely normal and has normal function. Which is perfect because now Alduin could prove to them how easy it was to basically awaken this power within himself and therefore help Partha with her power. He looks over to Partha and asks her, and how do you feel? Partha starts saying, oh, I could feel your warmth, I could feel your power. No, Alduin says, how do you feel? Do you feel the power awaken inside of you? Do you feel any different? How do you feel? She stays quiet for a moment, to the point where she realizes that I, I actually do feel different. I feel a warmth inside of me. I feel like something has awakened inside of me. I don't know how to say it like different than that, but I feel different. And then Alduin glances over to Jonas, and you? Jonas, how do you feel? Do you feel any different? Jonas starts laughing. He's holding onto his new formed face. He's so happy about the whole miracle that he has just experienced, and he also gasps out, I feel it too. I feel what she's saying. I feel what Partha is talking about. I feel warmth. I feel like something has awakened inside of me. Alduin is really happy, and obviously the whole crowd that was like in the whole vicinity, everyone's starting to babble and chat and talk to each other. Oh, did you see that? Did you see? Imagine he could do that for you. Wow, imagine you had that power. You know, they start talking under each other and just like getting really excited about this. And Alduin says, I can help all of you. And without hesitation, all of Partha, all the Parthans, they basically start lining up because they want some of that magic juju. So Alduin starts helping one for one all of these Parthans that start like lining up for him so he can help awaken their powers. And it's in that moment where Alduin is busy with all of the people that Sarenthia is not far away, kind of observing this whole situation. So after he left, all of them also kind of like left the estate, taking their own routes, to which Sarenthia had obviously gone to where Alduin is. And she was far enough that, you know, she's not a part of what's going on there, but she's close enough that she can still kind of see and hear what's going on. Now, Sarenthia was just kind of staring at him, and not far away from him, Lilia was also kind of standing and observing. Ow! Ow! Lilia was also kind of observing the situation and seeing what's going on. And Achilles finally enters with some water. He goes over to Sarenthia because he wants to find out if she's still alright. And when he gets to her and he offers her the water, to his surprise, Sarenthia actually drinks a lot more of the water than he thought she would. So he kind of thought she was just going to take a sip, but she ended up drinking most of the water. So that only indicated to Achilles that she was probably sitting there for a lot longer than he originally assumed she could have. Now, he looks at her, yeah, thirsty, eh? Alduin, how amazing is it not, you think? Like his powers it's crazy. And Sarentha's like, yeah, his powers is wonderful. It's great that he's helping all of these people. Now Achilles can see that Sarenthia doesn't actually seem that like thrilled about the situation, and he asks her, are you like okay? You do feel the power inside of you, right? Like it's been quite some time now since he helped you awaken. And she says, I don't know, like I feel the power, but I don't know. And he's like, what do you mean, Siri? Do you not, are you not able to do anything, use any abilities? I don't know, she says. But it's strange because you've had like the awakenedness like for a while now. I don't know, she continues. I don't know. I've tried thinking of something to happen and it hasn't happened. I've tried to conjure something up, but it hasn't like popped up. And to my knowledge, nothing I've tried has worked yet. So I don't know. I honestly, I've been trying. Achilles continues to say it's so strange because like Lilia, you know, it didn't take her long to start like adapting her ability. Like I mean, she's already like making berries and flowers from, you know, bushes, and she's able and doing a lot more than just that. Now again, this is not a very comforting thing for Sarinthia to hear, because now he's basically insinuating that, you know, Lilia has a better bond with Aldous than that she has, because now how else is she able to access her powers better than Sarinthia? And now Achilles can kind of see Cerinthia's getting a bit angry about that, and he tries to like divert the conversation again. He changed the topic again, and he's like, "Oh, anyways, yeah, Aldous, and like, it's kind of strange. We've been friends, well, since we've been like children. Like, we've been childhood friends for so long. I would have never thought that we would be in a situation where he had this type of power." Now, the moment he said that, Sarenthia kind of put all the focus on like Achilles. She's like, and now Achilles like, "Whoa, okay, she's giving me that crazy eyes," and he's expecting a question coming up now, and she's like, "How did you guys become friends?" Now, Achilles did not expect that question. He didn't think that's gonna be the type of question she asked, so he's like, I don't know, we became friends as children, you know, we just became friends, that's how children are, and I guess we just stayed loyal after that. We might not share much of the same interests, but we have endured a lot of the same troubles and issues. And Sarenthia says, yeah, I guess that makes sense. And she scans over to where Lilia is standing, and she looks back at Achilles. And her? Do you find her attractive? And now to this point, Achilles is like, yeah, this is more the type of question that I thought she was gonna be asking me. Like, he didn't think she was gonna ask about childhood friends. He thought that she was gonna ask about Lilia. And now he's like, yeah, well, I mean, Lilia is obviously a very attractive, you know, a very beautiful woman. Any man who sees her would, you know, obviously have a moment where they just picture themselves with her or think of her as a potential option. Anyone who says anything else, they're lying. But, I mean, she's not the only beautiful woman for people to gaze upon. And now to Achilles, he felt like he was being like pretty blunt and obvious about his remark, because he was obviously referring to Sarinthia. He was referring to that she's also beautiful and that he only has eyes for her because she is just as beautiful, even though she doesn't, you know, maybe feel like that about herself. But to Sarinthia, she didn't really like take that up in the way that he said it, so she kind of, it just kind of went over her head. He went on to just kind of talk to her where he's like, yeah, well, I mean, like I said, everyone thinks of her as an option, but I mean, she's not the only beautiful person out there, so there's that. Lilia's like, okay. I understand why Alderson, you know, finds a fancy in her. I understand she's an exotic type of beauty, but it was just so fast. Now, Achilles, he kind of relates in the sense of falling for someone in rather a short period of time, because to him, Sarinthia was just but a impish child when he had just met her. So Achilles kinda relates to Alduoson that fell in love so quick, because in a way he also fell in love with Sarenthia in a fairly short amount of time. Because to him, when he met Sarenthia, she was but an impish child that he didn't bat an eye for, but as time went on, he did kind of see her as this beautiful woman as she grew up, and he started to have a fancy in her the more he got to know her as well. So, I mean, he could relate with Alduin in a way that Sarenthia might not have understood, because obviously her love for Alduin was a bit more, pondered, and it took a bit longer for her to feel that way about him, but she's also been feeling the same way about Alduin for a long time now. Sarenthia continues on, but I also don't understand. Why Alduin? I mean, why now? Like, how is it that it's so natural to him, but everyone else is struggling to open up that same power? Achilles then tells her, well, I mean, if you think about it, between the game lagging, this is just perfect. Perfect. I am so happy. I am so ecstatic. Okay, so let's try again. As I was saying, Sarenthia was asking, why Alduin? Like, everyone is struggling to awaken this power. He didn't have a teacher, so how is it that he can do it so easily, and we can't? Achilles tells her, well, I mean, it could be that he went through a lot, so it's only natural that he might have adapted to the power a lot quicker. But then Sarenthia said, but that still doesn't make any sense, because if that was the case, then why didn't it happen earlier? This is not the most dramatic thing that Alduin has gone through. He lost his whole family due to a plague. I mean, surely that could have also awakened this so-called power that was there the whole time. So why only now? Why is it that Alduin make it seem so easy? Why is it even Alduin that has the power? Why doesn't Maitland have the power? Maitland went through exactly the same. He also had to witness all of his family dying, and he saw that his brother is, being accused for murder, and that his brother is being accused for murder, and that it might be a situation where his brother might get executed. But he didn't have the power. Achilles kind of has these flashbacks about Maitland, where they were back in Serum in the forest looking at the stone, and he felt like a cold rush going over him, where he just thought to himself, I remember how empty I felt when I touched onto that stone. And Maitland too, who was completely frozen in his place, couldn't move at all. Maybe something was going on with Maitland. He has been acting strange. He hasn't been himself lately, so maybe something was going on.
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do!
Now, in that sense, when Sarenthia said, like, why doesn't Maitland have power? When she saw the reaction that Achilles had, she asked him, wait, does Maitland also possess the power? Is that what's going on? And Achilles quickly corrected himself. No, it's not like that. It's just wait. And in that same breath, Achilles felt like Maitland was in danger. Something was wrong. Okay, he couldn't explain it, but there was a sense of urgency that he had to get to Maitland, like right now. So he stands up and he starts bolting in a direction that he thinks Maitland might be. Sarenthea's calling after him, like, Achilles, where are you going? Like, what the hell? And he's not actually stopping for a moment and explaining to what happened. He's just continuing on. Now, he's also kind of running in a way that he doesn't actually know where he is. He's like, wait a minute. Where is Maitland? I don't even know where to begin looking. So now he's running into town and he starts looking for Maitland. Now, let's scan over to what's happening to Maitland. So when everyone left, Master Ethan's estate, Mendon was still preoccupied a bit until the point where he learned that Alderwhiston went into town to confront the people. He grew concerned and he felt, you know what, maybe I should just go check up on Alderwhiston, because, I mean, the way people of Sarum reacted when his power was known and the way they might react now, these complete strangers, you know, I'm just scared for his life. So he's on his way to go find Aldous, and he mindlessly starts walking into Partha, to which he eventually notices that he's kind of getting lost. So the streets don't seem so familiar the way they used to be, and now something even more strange is happening. It seems weathered and old, and something's wrong here. Partha doesn't look like Partha anymore. It looks like a abandoned city, and everywhere where he's looking, it just seems like, where am I? He sees this old-looking cemetery across the street that looks super overgrown and super sketch, with these gargoyles at the entrance of the gate staring at him. Now he immediately decides, nope, I am not the hell going there, and he turns around to try and trace back his steps. So as he turns around, he's actually at the front of the gate. He's like at the entrance of the cemetery. So he was across the street, and all of a sudden he's right at the gate. Again, he's like, no, I do not want to be here. And he tries to turn around to take a step, but as he turns around and takes a step, all of a sudden he's in the middle of the cemetery. So he was at the entrance and now he's in the middle, and now everything is just that much worse because he doesn't know where he is or what's going on, how he even got there. Something that also stood out to him, like Maitland with his ghostly friends who was still following him up until the point that he teleported to the cemetery, realized that his ghostly friends were still trapped at the entrance. Okay, so they were just standing around as if though the gargoyles at the entrance were keeping them at bay. They can't enter with him. Now, these ghosts, he was no longer afraid of them because they were following him ever since they were fighting with Malik and all of those Peace Warders had died. And he noticed that they didn't actually intend to hurt him, they just seemed to stare at him. So he wasn't like scared for his life, but he obviously was still anxious. But now, standing in the cemetery, in the middle of the cemetery, the ghostly companions, it was almost as if though he was now actually missing them, purely just because they seemed more familiar. He looked around in the cemetery, almost wanting to leave, but also being intrigued by a sense of curiosity of what's going on in the cemetery. So he's seen rows and rows of headstones, all of them very weathered, all of them seeming to be, you know, very, very old. There's even a few graves that were dug out, but it's so overgrown and even sunk in a little bit more. There's weeds and grass growing from inside of it, so you can see that everything, it seems weird and very odd. Now, eventually he sees this one headstone that stands out a little bit more than the rest of them because it seems to be a statue. So he starts walking in the direction of this statue and notices that it seems to be like an angelic form. He gets closer to a point where it seems to be like an angelic statue holding up a great sword in its left hand. Now what stood out to him was that this wasn't your stereotypical angel with your feathery wings and somewhat chiseled face. No, this angel had a hood on that basically obscured most of his facial features. When he inspected the wings, he also noticed that, but these wings, they are not feathery at all. They actually seem to have some sort of flame-like design to them. So he hasn't seen a depiction of an angel like this before, and he starts inspecting the statue even more. So the sword that he has is a really big sword, and it's pointing down onto the base of the statue, and his other hand was pointing towards Mendon himself, so it was like pointing to Mendon like that. Now Maitland is really confused and is really getting like frustrated with the whole situation, and he starts screaming out into the air, "What do you want? What do you want from me? I don't understand."
What do you want? It's not that simple.
What
It's
do you want?
And in that moment, the statue doesn't move anything other than his hand. Okay, so the hand that was pointing to Mendlin now starts pointing downwards towards the base. When Mendlin looks to the base, he sees there's carvings at the bottom that looks like, sigils or words or something. Now he doesn't understand it, but they do look familiar, and he recognized them to be a lot similar to the same carvings that was on the obsidian stone that he found in the forest with Achilles. So there was a moment way back that that creature attacked him in the forest, that he was able to kind of bring back those words and understand them. But now, looking at these words with fresh eyes, it seemed like he was looking at them for the first time, and he was completely uncertain as to what was actually standing there. Like, what is that? What does this mean? So he tries to decipher it, he tries to see if he can read it, but he still doesn't understand, and he keeps on going, what? I don't know what it says, I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. And it was in that moment where he heard, the dragon has chosen you. Mendon is like, what? Okay, I just heard a voice in my head, but he thinks to himself, the dragon has chosen me? You? What? It doesn't make any sense. So the voice that said it sounded a lot similar to what Cyrus's voice sounded when he came across Cyrus's dead body. So he assumed it was probably something like that or something similar to that. Oh, what is that? Am I supposed to go there? What is here? Nothing. Oh, I could have just... Are you serious? What about this side? Is there anything here? Nothing. So what is the point of this? Anyway, so... Maitland, the dragon has chosen you. Oh, Maitland, really trying to see it in his head. He looks at the sigils, and the carvings actually started making sense to him. It's like he was able to read it, and now he can see letter for letter, word for word, and he can see the symbol that means dragon. Now he's seen dragons before, he's done a lot of studies, and he's seen the images and the lore behind it, but he couldn't understand why this specific symbol had resembled dragon. It didn't really make any sense to him, but he didn't ponder too much about it, because in that same moment he was reading the base of the statue. The earth beneath him, because he was standing on top of a grave. The earth beneath him started shaking around crazily to the point where he lost balance and fell down, and now his hands were completely covered in the dirt from the ground. Okay, so he's looking at the ground, trying to figure out why it is that he just lost his balance, to which he then noticed that, wait a minute, it looks like something is trying to claw its way through the ground and come up. So now it seems like whatever was in the grave now wants to come out, and he's looking around, and it's not only that grave that he's standing on, it seems to be all of the graves. Okay, so all of the graves in the whole cemetery, the rows and rows of stones, all of the graves underneath them started to rattle and shift and stifle. So it seems like whatever was lying there was restless, and it was now about to crawl out from the graves. Mainland is freaking out. He's obviously not too excited to see these, whatever is approaching, breaking free from their graves. To which he then sees a figure in the shadow of the statue. Okay, a figure in the shadow of the angelic statue. I couldn't make out the features of the shadow, other than the fact that it seemed to be very familiar. So it did seem very humanoid and almost very handsome. He was like, oh, that cloaked figure's got some riz. But anyway, and this figure started making a sigil in the sky, like it was almost making a type of a spell. So it was making gestures like this, to which the symbol started to become white, to a point where it started lighting up so brightly. This very bright white light started emanating from it to a point where Maitland couldn't see anything. And as he blinked his eyes and he could see again, he was at the entrance of the cemetery. But now the cemetery seemed to be a lot more kept and neat, much like you would expect a cemetery to be in a place like Partha. So it was no longer overgrown, it doesn't look old anymore, and it seems like he's now at the... I don't know why I just did that. He was now in a situation where it seemed like there was never a cemetery like that to begin with. Now, he was obviously freaked out about the situation, and just as he wanted to calm down, he feels a shoulder tapping. What is this? I don't want to go in the middle of it. So he feels something tapping on his shoulder, and when he turned around, like, oh, what hell? He saw it was no one other than Achilles. Maitland, are you okay? I sensed danger. Are you alright? And Maitland was staring at him. He was happy to see it was at least a familiar face, but he was also confused, like, what? What was Achilles doing here? And he asked him, were you following me? Achilles at first seemed like he wanted to deny it, but then he admitted, yes, I mean, I did follow you. I just wanted to make sure, you know, you don't get lost in a big place like this, you know, especially not with demons running about. Our Maitland again seemed to be a bit like concerned. Okay, that's very strange, but anyways, and Achilles further inspects him and says, wait a minute, Maitland, what's going on with your hands? He sees that Maitland's hands are completely covered in mud and dirt from the grave that he fell on. And Maitland, it's not that he doesn't trust Achilles, but he does feel like he doesn't want to concern Achilles with the information of what just happened with him, especially for the fact that he's not even sure what happened to him himself. Like, he doesn't know what just happened, so he doesn't want to sound crazy or make Alderson worry. He doesn't want to make Achilles worry because of it. So then Maitland decided he was not going to be truthful with Achilles and just tell him that no, I was walking in the street and I fell, and I tried to stop myself with my hands, so my hands got dirty as I tried to stop the cobblestone from hitting my face, so you don't have to worry about me. Now Achilles seemed to just kind of bat an eye, like, oh, okay, no, I guess that makes sense, and they kind of went on. Achilles then mentioned, yo, anyways, just let's go to Alderson. I'm sure you want to see what's going on. And he's like, Alderson, right, I forgot, that's completely why I went out in the first place. Is he okay? Achilles then calms him down, don't worry, Alderson is completely fine. Actually, he's doing really well, so let's head on over to that. Now, Maitland was still thinking about that, while Achilles actually had a different mindset. So even though Achilles seemed to be calm and, you know, okay with Maitland's explanation, inside of Achilles' mind, he thought that it was really odd that Maitland would lie about something like this, because he was an excellent huntsman, and he knew that you didn't have to be a master at hunting to realize that the dirt that was on Maitland's hands were way too wet for the type of dirt that you would get on the street had you fall in the street. So to him it seemed like, why is Maitland lying about this? And now further to that, this started making Achilles think further, like, but wait, like, way back when in Serum, when Brother Michaelis had just entered, there's a situation where they went to his fallen brother's grave, to where they buried his fallen brothers, and they realized that the grave was desecrated. And now he finds Maitland at a cemetery where there's a lot of graves, and he's got dirt on his hands that resemble the dirt that you would ideally find in a grave, but he's lying about it. Okay, so now Achilles is raising a bit of suspicions regarding this whole situation. Flashing back towards Alderson. Guys, so He's still busy helping the Parthans, and Lilia, like I mentioned before, she's kind of standing far enough to not be a part of it, but close enough that she can still see what's going on. And she starts having this like inner monologue with herself, where she's glaring onto Alduin and thinking to herself, "This is not Kejon. This was not a part of the plan. But this will do. It doesn't matter where we start in the end of the day. Alduin, doesn't matter how we do it, but you will help me get what is rightfully mine, whether you will die trying or not." So now we've kind of got a feeling that whatever Lilia's motives are, they could be very sinister. And then I'm heading back to town now, and I think I'm gonna end the video there because I feel like this is where it's gonna get heated in the next episode. So Alduin is helping one Parthan after the other to help awaken their powers. Sarenthia is still pretty much jealous about Alduin and Lilia's like relationship that they got going on, and the fact that she's frustrated that she hasn't awakened any powers of her own. Mainland just went through this whole cemetery thing. He just heard the words that the dragon has chosen you. He's no idea what that means, but it is obviously resonating with him, and he's concerned about it, and he tries to keep it to himself. And Achilles is now a bit more concerned about Mainland. Why is he lying? He's suspecting him about a lot of things at the moment, and he's also a bit more troubled about the obsidian stone that they found in the forest. And now we got a little peekaboo on the insides of Lilia, that she also might not be all that she seems. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all the views, the likes, the subscribes. It really helps my channel grow, and I will see you next time. Obviously, may the odds forever favor you.